Video 5. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Determination. Under the Federal Clean Water Act, the Section 401 Water Quality Certification Program is a state certification of an activity that requires a federal permit or licenses for activities that may result in a discharge into waters. The most common federal permits that the Division of Water issues water quality certifications for are the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Section 404 and Section 10 permits. There are 3 Army Corps districts that operate in Kentucky: Louisville, Nashville, and Memphis, with Louisville District regulating a majority of the state. Contact the Army Corps District directly if you have specific questions about their federal permit regulatory requirements or exemptions. The federal regulatory definitions of jurisdictional waters, or waters of the United States, WOTUS, have been dynamic over the past few years, so those terms will be referenced from a general perspective within this video. To confirm the federal regulatory definition of WOTUS, visit the EPA and Army Corps of Engineers websites. In General Project Review and on the Disaster Permitting Worksheet column USACE determination, there are 4 primary options for a federal Section 404 or Section 10 permit type: not applicable, exempt, nationwide permit, and individual permit, or similarly, a letter of permission. Not applicable. If you have no impacts to jurisdictional waters as defined by current federal regulation, and a federal permit from the Army Corps would not be required, then a water quality certification from the Kentucky Division of Water is not required either. Exempt. Under Federal Section 404 F1, certain activities are exempt from Section 404 permitting. An applicant's project may have some impacts to streams or wetlands, but still be considered exempt from the need to apply for a federal Section 404 permit. Use of this exemption method places some responsibility on the applicant to review the exemption criteria and determine whether they are able to comply with the listed criteria. The applicant can make the determination if they are exempt, or contact the Army Corps for a determination. If the scenario does not actually qualify for use of the exemption, the applicant is required to obtain a federal permit and a water quality certification. The Kentucky Division of Water is not able to make a determination whether an applicant is exempt from federal permitting. All related questions should be directed to the relevant Army Corps District office. Now let's talk about scenarios that require a federal Section 404 or Section 10 permit from the Army Corps and a state Section 401 water quality certification from the Kentucky Division of Water. Those are nationwide permit, individual permit, and letter of permission. An application submittal is typically required for the following scenarios: nationwide permits with no general certification available, projects that cannot comply with all required general certification conditions, or projects that require individual permits or letter of permission from the Army Corps. An overview of each scenario will follow, but more detail and directions can be found on the Kentucky Division of Water Water Quality Certification webpage. Remember that other Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet or Division of Water permits may still be required, for example, floodplain, KPDES, or groundwater protection plan. Please ensure that all applicable permits are acquired prior to impacting any stream or wetland. Nationwide permit. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has issued nationwide permits to assist in streamlining project review for small-scale or minor disturbance activity types. These get reviewed and updated roughly every 5 years, so it is important to check back periodically to ensure you are complying with the current conditions and requirements. Some nationwide permits require pre-construction notification to the Army Corps, and others may not. Look up the requirements for your desired nationwide permit on the Army Corps webpage or in the Federal Register documents. At the time of reissuance, the Kentucky Division of Water reviews the proposed nationwide permits and provides a determination for each one that could be denied, which requires the project's elevation to the individual water quality certification review process, certified as written, which confirms the conditions and requirements as written by Army Corps with no additional conditions, or certified with conditions, which requires adherence with both the Army Corps conditions and an additional list of general water quality certification conditions. Review the list of general certification conditions that are listed on the Water Quality Certification webpage. If your proposed project cannot comply with all conditions listed in the general certification of a nationwide permit, then your project must be elevated to the individual WQC review process. Individual permit or letter of permission. An individual permit or letter of permission is required from the Army Corps for a project that does not fit into any nationwide permit categories for minor waters impacts. Individual permit or letter of permission are often related to more complex or large-scale projects. If pursuing an individual permit or letter of permission from the Army Corps, submittal of a state application for an individual water quality certification is required. Pause the video now to see a chart of decision-making and application requirements that we just discussed. Again, more detail and directions can be found on the Kentucky Division of Water Water Quality Certification webpage. You can also contact the Kentucky Division of Water Water Quality Certification section by email at 401wqc@ky.gov or by phone at 502-564-3410.